further ado, those of you who are here for the first time and who don't know me, I'm Karen Dion. I'm the USA Today and #1 internationally best-selling author of 2 psychological suspense novels that are set in Michigan's Upper Peninsula wilderness, The Marsh King's Daughter and The Wicked Sister. The Marsh King's Daughter was named one of the best books by iBooks and many other booksellers and reviewers when it came out back in 2017. And it won the Barry and the Crimson Scribe Awards, got a rave review in the New York Times, and was released last fall as a major motion picture starring Daisy Ridley and Ben Mendelsohn. So that's my claim to fame. Now I'm going to introduce our authors. And I'm going to do this alphabetically. Hey, Charlie.
Hey.
Charlie Donlea is the USA Today and #1 internationally best-selling author of propulsive female-driven thrillers, including The Girl Who Was Taken, Don't Believe It, 20 Years Later, and Those Empty Eyes. His latest thriller, Long Time Gone. Do you have a copy to hold up? Long Time Gone. Flash it at us. There it is. Great cover, huh? It explores the science of forensic genealogy. A late bloomer, Charlie was 20 years old when he read his first novel. That's crazy. It's hard to believe, but there you go. Okay, we'll talk more about that in the breakout rooms. And it was The Firm by John Grisham, and he knew he would someday write thrillers. Now he's published in 40 countries and translated into nearly 20 languages. And his books have sold more than 1.5 million copies in the US alone and been optioned for film and television. He lives in Chicago with his wife and 2 children. And Long Time Gone just published, what, May 21?
Yeah, May 21.
Yeah. So you've already been on book tour, right?
I got
You've
one
already
more
missed all the
event.
flights.
And if I hear that bio one more time, I'll get even more sick of myself.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we're really happy to have you here tonight, Charlie, and looking forward to talking to you in breakout rooms. And then we have Meg Gardiner. Meg Gardiner is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of 16 novels. Her thrillers have won the Edgar Award and been summer reading picks by the Today Show and Oprah, the O Magazine. That's awesome. Called Hitchcockian and nail-biting and moving, her books have been translated into more than 20 languages. Her latest or most recent title was co-authored with Michael Mann, Heat 2, but her newest standalone, Shadowheart, publishes June 18. That's like Tuesday, right?
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
You are the start of the book tour here.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks. That's great to know. Well, and so we'll find out a little bit more what Shadowheart is about in the breakout room, but I really like the premise. You're going to love it too. Okay, we'll leave that hanging. And then we have Kate White. Kate is the New York Times, USA Today, and #1 Amazon charts best-selling author of 10 standalone psychological thrillers, including The Last Time She Saw Him, as well as 8 Bailey Wiggins mysteries, including Such a Perfect Wife, which was nominated for an International Thriller Writers Award. That's a big deal. Kate is the former editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan and also the editor of the Mystery Writers of America cookbook, and the author of several best-selling books on career success. So her most recent book is The Last Time She Saw Him. Yeah, that's great. I actually have a copy because I saw Kate when I was in New York a couple weeks ago. That's always fun. Yep.
Thank you.
And it published May 14, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of these are new and just about to be published books that you're going to be introduced to tonight. And I am going to make mention of Walter because even though he can't be here, we had planned for him to be here. And he practically needs no introduction, but here's what I have for him. Walter Mosley is one of the most versatile and admired writers in America. He's the author of more than 60 critically acclaimed books that cover a wide range of ideas, genres, and forms, including fiction, literary fiction, mystery, and science fiction, political monographs, writing guides, including elements of fiction, a memoir and paintings, and a young adult novel called 47. His work has been translated into 25 languages. He's won all kinds of major awards. And his newest book is Farewell Amethysti. Did I say that right, do you think? It's a different sort of word for me. All right. And that published June 4. So that's just out too. And I pulled a little quote from the Washington Post since he can't tell us about the book himself. This is from the Washington Post Review. It says, Walter Mosley's latest Easy Rollins mystery shows that he is still at the top of a genre he helped to pioneer. As always with Mosley, the prose is succinct, nearly mathematical in its precise balance, with sudden moments of restless beauty. A woman's eyes are, quote, the color of melted butter that was just turning dark over a high flame. Another character is, quote, a great novel. Just one read through was not enough to understand what it means. Rollins has his, but within that studied, memorable prose, there's an underlying loneliness. Rollins has his companions, but much of his torment is designed to be dealt with alone. As Farewell Amethystine winds to its conclusion, that solitude is devastating. So I just wanted to share that because after all, he, like I say, he's not here and able to tell us about his novel himself. So we're going to start the game of 20 questions. It's really 12 questions because, 20 questions would take all night, but a game of 12 questions doesn't sound nearly as cool. And we actually have, like these backroom cards with official questions on the other side. Yes. So this is the way it goes here. I'm going to ask the questions in the order I see people on the screen. And I want to ask Kate, you first, what's the best thing about being a writer?
For me, it's just being my own boss and doing something I love at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds pretty ideal, I think. Yeah. And as we didn't ask what was the worst thing because we're trying to keep things positive, right?
Rewrites, I'll just throw that in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Charlie, what's something you're really bad at?
Bad at. I used to really be bad at public speaking and writing, strangely, and going out on the road has helped me a lot with that. But I used to be terrible at that. So I would say public. I just did a big presentation yesterday for about 100 people, and yeah, it's like much more comfortable to be in a room with 100 people than really early in your career when you'd show up and like 2 people would be in the audience. So much easier, but that's something I was terrible at that I've gotten a lot better at over the years.
Thanks. Yeah, awesome. Meg, what can always make you feel better after a bad day?
Talking to my kids, putting on a comedy. If the kids are here, we put on an episode of Frasier or 30 Rock. Then once we're laughing, everything's all right again.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Much better than a bowl of chocolate ice cream or something like
That's
that.
pretty great too.
And I actually, this is a little goofy, but I searched the internet and I found Walter Mosley interviews. It was by the book, from the New York Times, and he answered some of the questions that we might have asked him here. So I'm going to slip in one of his answers. The question was, where and when do you like to read? And he says, I like to read either in motion or in water. And so I'm most satisfied reading on subway cars, trains, planes, ferries, boats, or floating on some kind of air-filled device or raft in a pool, pond, or lake. I'm trying to picture him reading a book in that circumstance. And then he says, but I'm happiest reading in the bathtub, back with my head resting on the curved end of the tub, one leg bent and the other resting along the edge. Now and then I add a little hot water with a circular motion of my toe. And he says, I decided on my apartment because it had a deep tub with water jets to massage me while I read science fiction and magical realism. So, and those are his words, not mine. So the authors have all brought a book with them that they are recommending that people read. And so let's start with you, Kate. What book are you recommending tonight?
Well, I read a ton of psychological suspense. I also read cozies, and yet a friend of mine told me about this book a month or two ago. It came out in 2011, and I just loved it. It's The House of Silk by Anthony Horowitz, and it's Sherlock Holmes. He got permission to write a Sherlock Holmes, and Meg, I don't know about you, but I was just a huge Nancy Drew fan. Karen, you too, probably, right? And I graduated from Nancy to Sherlock Holmes. I read all of them and loved them. And it was just so fun for me to go back and read a Sherlock Holmes book.
Oh, cool. That sounds awesome. How about you, Charlie? What are you recommending?
I'm recommending John Grisham's book, Camino Island, which he has his newest Camino book out now, is Camino Ghost, but Camino Island's a great summer read. This was one of the first. I'm a huge Grisham fan. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But this was the first Grisham book that I read that wasn't a legal thriller. And it's just it's a little bit of a heist novel. It's a little bit of, gets into the writing world and the publishing world, I should say. It's a lot of fun, and it has to do with a famous manuscript that gets stolen from Princeton Library, and the store owner on Camino Island named Bruce is his first name. He starts looking into what happened to it, and we find out a lot more about Bruce as the story goes along. And like I said, it's a great summer read. It's a lot of fun, and it also leads into the other two books, which are all take place on Camino Island.
Sounds awesome. Grisham always delivers. Yeah. He was one of my early favorites too. Meg, what book are you recommending tonight?
I have Almost Surely Dead by Amina Akhtar, which is a mystery. It is fresh, it's original, it is spooky. It's about a New Yorker who is having a fairly ordinary life until seems like somebody's stalking her. Someone tries to shove her under the subway tracks, shove her in front of cars on Manhattan streets. Does she have somebody from her past or present who wants her dead, or is she actually being haunted, possibly by a djinn? And she then disappears. So what's happened to her? A year later, nobody has seen her still, but social media has gone wild. In all of Amina's books, she has a lot of very sharp, funny, satirical social commentary that is very poignant underneath as well. And the same goes for this, as the line on the back of the book says, one woman's nightmare is a podcaster's dream. So we're reading along, just flipping the pages, hoping that Dunia Ahmed, the heroine, is possibly still alive somewhere, even though people think she is.
Well, surely
dead.
Nice.
I loved it.
Nice. And people are saying in the chat that all of these books sound awesome, and that's one thing that we love. Hank and I, we all love books. We write books, but we love to read books too. And so when you get a recommendation from an author, authors read a lot of books, right? As part of our job, as well as write books. So, a recommendation from an author really means a lot. Walter Mosley was going to recommend 100 Years of Solitude. I am so ashamed to say that I've never read it. Maybe if somebody has read it, they could comment on it. I did find a few comments online that Walter wrote in regards to 100 Years of Solitude. And he wrote, I think that it's really funny that a lot of people complain to me about how many characters I have in my novels. They just complain. They say, you have too many characters. I say, have you read 100 Years of Solitude? Not only are there 100 characters, they all have the same goddamn name. I didn't hear you say that Marquez has too many characters. One after another, after another, after another. It's so funny. You read that chart he has at the beginning, right? And they all have the same name. Jose Arcadio. They don't have Junior. No, he just has the same name. That sounds intriguing. And so I'm sure that were Walter here, he would have said something much more elegant about 100 Years of Solitude, but I'm definitely going to check it out.
Wasn't that fun? We hope you enjoyed this taste of what a backroom event is like. The best part comes immediately after, when the audience is divided into 4 breakout rooms and the authors visit each room in turn. We'd love to show you what a breakout session is like, because these relaxed face-to-face conversations between authors and readers are the hallmark of our backroom events. But breakout sessions are never recorded. What's said in the back room stays in the back room.